wait, why can't I hear that? Dude, I messed up my headphone situation. It's better now, but I was like...
You overcomplicated it to the point where you messed it up?
Yes. Okay, I'll just quickly explain it because it's kind of interesting. So my Moog, I can play notes on it a bunch of different ways. So I have the MIDI input connected to this keyboard over here. I can also send MIDI from Ableton to this keyboard. So then that lets me send Ableton or MIDI to the keyboard and then the keyboard to the Moog, and that's usually how I mess with it. But the Moog has an internal synthesizer because it's not necessarily expecting you to have Ableton or a keyboard even, but it has this thing where it's you can just go in and basically just tell it play this note and then this note and then this note and then this note, and you can program I think up to 36 or 32 notes, whatever, some multiple of 4.
The harmonic style of 18th century European musicians.
Also, you can apply other things to the steps of that sequencer. So for example, you could be on the 3rd note, have the filter be lower, or
cool.
On the 7th note, have the attack go up. And so that's pretty cool, yeah. And that's not something that you could do actually by sending notes from Ableton into it. You know what I mean? I can't send a note to my keyboard that's play C and with the filter at this, because it doesn't know a filter exists. You know what I mean? That's a cool little ecosystem that exists just on the Moog.
Interesting. And so you can kind of program all that analog on the synth?
Exactly. And it's super cool. And so I like doing that. And I'd like to be able to do that, though, in a way that is integrated with Ableton. Because here's the problem, is that when I'm using that internal sequencer on the Moog, there's just a knob on the Moog that is tempo. And so I can just move that knob and it'll change the tempo.
It's the best you could do is just capture the audio and bring it into Ableton.
Yeah, which I've absolutely done before. Or try and get it close and then warp it in Ableton to make it perfect, you know?
Yeah, but you can't do any sort of manipulation through your workflow.
Right.
It's all just capturing an audio file from the Moog.
Exactly. Now, the Moog, though, is designed to play super friendly with other synths. Something that's super common in the Eurorack world, where, you would have this Moog and then a million other things that are like it, connect them all together. They all have tempo in and outs in the form of these kinds of jacks. Yep. So I can send tempo into my Moog from another thing that way, right?
Okay.
Those jacks, though, even though they look like an audio jack, right? This just looks like a headphone cable. The kind of signal that you would be sending is called control voltage, because it's not like music, you know what I mean? If you're sending tempo from one synth to another, you wouldn't plug your headphones into that thing and listen to it. Right? Because what would it sound like? The only thing we know for sure is it would be some kind of click. It's on. And it's literally just sending voltage. So it's actually really dangerous to plug that into headphones or your speakers or whatever. You can just break them because it's not musical signal, you know?
No, it's just sending volt. Yeah, you could fuck up your headphones.
Pretty much all headphone jacks and XLRs and everything, even though they're analog and they're just sending the audio through or whatever, almost all of them actually have this thing where it's called DC coupling, which I've just learned about in the last couple months, where it's literally just filtering out certain frequencies to avoid issues if something broke and started sending control voltage through so that you don't hear control voltage through your speakers, which would be horrible.
Which would be disastrous potentially.
Exactly, yeah. So there is such a thing, and these are pretty new from what I can tell, interfaces that specifically have outputs that they can still transmit normal output, but they're just also capable of sending out control voltage. And so it's literally for the function of if you have a DAW, you can just send clicks through one of the outputs on your thing and then have a headphone cable routed from your audio interface into your synth. So anyways, I'm reading about all this and I'm looking into all of this and I'm this is fucking crazy. And then I'm reading on Ableton's website and they're there's only these 2 audio interfaces in the world right now that we recommend for this purpose. Though this seems to be the future because Ableton also has created a whole internal suite of things that you can use just to send control voltage out to Eurorack things. All of these, CV clock out, CV LFO, CV shaper, CV. So CV LFO, for example. So So it's just like the Max for Live LFO, but then it's just you can send the output to something on your interface, and then you would be able to just send that into a synth, which would be super cool and allow me to do a lot of what I want to do using Moog's internal synthesizer. Like I want to be able to just control things like the filter or the attack from Ableton, so that would be cool. But I can't do that with my interface. The minimum and maximum are fucked up. But then I was reading on Ableton's website, if you wanted to send something like just tempo, if you think about it, it's just a click. It doesn't really matter if you're missing the highest and the lowest frequencies of whatever the click is. All that you need to do is get your Eurorack thing to recognize the event. Yeah, they call that a gate or a trigger in the Eurorack world. Sending enough to something to initiate the event. Some knobs. So that's why my headphones are fucked up. because I was trying to send CV tempo information through my headphone output into my Eurorack to try and get it to sync up.
It was just trying to send tempo output as opposed to sound.
Yeah, or it was like I had done a bunch of work to try and get it to send tempo output and not enough work to get it back to normal.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
But I think it should work still in theory. Like I just want to mess around with it.